Hello, welcome to our latest episode of Breaking the Spell. And for today, it's November 30th, 2022. We have a wonderful guest, Ningpei, who's going to discuss and share more about two themes that are very dear to Unsu and my heart. It's about worth, dignity, and the impact that labels and stigma have on our inherent sense of worth and dignity. Yeah. So welcome Ningpei to our show.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure for having Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we have a short introduction of Ningpei, and I'll just read it out. So possible is one affirmation word Ningpei has uncovered to acknowledge her well-being and worth. Hailing from a humble background of trials and tribulations, Ningpei uses a personal story as a motivation to inspire for good. She believes that she is a work in progress, striving to become a better human every day. Ningpei delights in raw and intimate exchanges with fellow human beings. She picked herself up and kick-started I Am Invisible, a social experiment to bring the invisible into visible, to uncover our personal stories, to affirm our worth and very existence of living, to reclaim back the innate power that everyone has, and to be the best that one can be. She held an exhibition in 2017 to capture 30 hidden yet familiar and intimate sides of humanity that share stories of loss, despair, failure and triumph, challenging stereotypes and embracing differences. Ningpei spent her formative years in advertising, which nurtured her insatiable curiosity to get out of the comfort zone, to stretch herself to innovate and do things differently, for good. She has made a positive impact in the business and community engagement roles she has played in the last 10 years in the social impact sector. She recently produced Do You See Me, an inaugural migrant storytelling exhibition showcase for everyone to be seen, heard, held, and validated. She has a passion to nurture and unleash inner potential to support people to become the best version of themselves. So you can follow Ningpei on her Facebook page, I Am Invisible Stories Unfold, or her website, www.iaminvisible.me. Welcome to the show, Ningpei. To kickstart our show, we ask our guests one question. It's the same question we ask all our guests. Do you remember the first time in your life when you felt that things aren't the way they should be?
Thank you, Santosh and Unsu, for having me. Right, that is actually a very difficult question. So I took some time to really contemplate and reflect. What is one thing that I find that things shouldn't be the case? To me, growing up in my formative years and even right now, I'm already in my 40s. I feel that one thing that I'm very, very disturbed with is people idolize the rich and the power, and those people who has really made a name of themselves, which is all good. There's nothing wrong with that, because they deserve it, because they work hard, to be where they are, right now. That is, I give full credit to them. At the same time, I also feel that, how are those people who are trailing the shadow? It's not that there isn't any wisdom or capabilities on the ground at all, and why people don't idolize them, and why people idolize those people who are really way up there making a name for themselves. They don't need any pat on the shoulder. But those people who are trailing the shadow deserve that acknowledgement, because they work really hard and they still remain status quo as where they are, as like a label that not many people will actually like, like low status, like a cleaner, security guard or janitor. It's not that they have no talent. It's not that there's no capabilities in them. It's just that they may not be even given the opportunity that others may have. Yeah.
But was there a moment in your life when you can you remember a particular experience or that brought this awareness to you?
Yeah, when I was in school, probably I was in secondary school, I was from the normal academic stream, and then I also have a friend who was just sharing with me that same stream as me, normal academic, and then her sister was like in a SAP school, so younger than her, and then she said that one day her mom was asking her to read the letter from the letterbox and say, "You're so stupid lah, this is pass it to your sister will probably understand what this letter say." I'm like, wow, okay. I can really imagine how does that make my friend felt then at that point of time, that because I'm being streamed into a less academic streaming, that make me less of than a person who were being streamed more academically well. So yeah, I think it's been ingrained in us that society has perceive and label a person based on their achievement. But that doesn't mean that our worth is defined by achievement. There are so many other things that you need to take into consideration with. And I also recall just recently, I have a 14-year-old niece who's been selected to be part of competitions or some program with a big IT company, and she lost a jacket that was given to her by the president of this big organization, and she was very uptight about it. I said, "Why are you so uptight about it? Okay, you deserve. Okay, you felt proud. You feel proud that you got a place over there. You took part in the competition and been presented this jacket by the president." She said, "Yeah, she feel proud. I mean, okay, yeah, I agree. I hear her that she should feel proud about that. But at the same time, she said that, yeah, it's an honor to receive that jacket. Yes, I agree. But at the same time, you not need to feel so uptight about it, because the president don't even know who you are, don't even know your name. Like, don't you think that you should, feel more uptight if, that person is your loved one, like your parents or even me, her aunt?" She felt otherwise. She felt she's been her status has been raised up because she's been given something by someone of status, which I thought, okay, fair enough. You deserve to be there. You work hard for it, but you not need to feel so uptight about it, because from someone who don't even know you, it's just like so many people chasing idols and killing themselves over chasing idols, but the idols don't even know you. Like, what is the world becoming? I really have no idea. Yeah.
Wow. So it's powerful. I think I picked up different stories of labels, titles, or status. Yeah, you started off with like cleaners and security guards. So those are like occupational labels or titles. Then you moved on to streaming, right? Express and normal academic. So that's academic labels. Yeah. Then you moved on to like president of an association versus mommy, daddy. A close one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we notice is the ones that we attach higher importance, they actually allow us to enlarge the identity beyond what the whole person is. Whereas the ones we attach less worth to, it reduces the whole human being to just that occupational, that academic stream, or that status that they have. Yeah. So one reduces the worth, one enlarges the worth beyond what is the whole person. Yeah.
Because of the title.
Just because of the title and the label.
I think it's also being conditioned by this whole environment. People always see that, okay, I'm way up there, I should ambition to be way up there. There's nothing wrong with that, but I feel that how about those people who fall through the cracks? It's not that they don't have capabilities, they may not just be given the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. I mean, my own personal take on it is that capitalism as a system actually depends on devaluing certain groups of people. Even from its beginning, the history of capitalism was based on devaluing the cultures of the lands and the territories that the Europeans colonized and took, right? And I think that cultural supremacy has basically perpetuated until now, And yeah, capitalism as a system requires like a group of people that are exploited, you know, because the system needs low wage labor, right? So I actually think it's just baked into the system. Yeah. But I'm curious about your projects that have been trying to draw attention to those who have been marginalized or made invisible. What motivated you to actually initiate those projects?
Sure. Thanks for asking that question. So I started I Am Invisible, as the name suggests, is to really to bring the invisible into visible. As the logo, if you take a look at my website, right, the logo is designed in such a way that the IN is slashed away to bring the invisible into visibility, into visible. So that is to bring those people who are trailing in the shadow, to light. Not only just physically, but also to unleash that invisible inner potential that everyone has to becoming their best professionally and personally. So that is what I want to do with I Am Invisible projects that I'm looking on. So my motivations stem from my own personal story. Just to share a little bit of my background, I felt that it is a universal human needs for everyone to be loved, to be held, to be heard, to be seen, to be validated. And for me, I came from a traditional Chinese family, and they favor boys over girls, and I've never felt love, growing up, and it didn't help that I'm also I have a fraternal twin brother. So like my family is like have more boys than girls. So I live in an extended family with 3 families living together in the kampong, and this is what my mom told me, because she's like the only so-called domestic woman taking care of 3 families. She didn't really have time to take care of me or my brothers when I was growing up. But what she shared with me that I wasn't given any attention when I was a baby. From when I was baby, like nobody even carried me when I was crying or what. Like nobody cares per se. But all the attention was given to my brother per se. Not only just for my twin brother, but for my other cousins, male cousins as well. So I thought that what did I do wrong? I didn't get to choose my gender. It's because of my gender that I am being given such treatment. So I feel there's a little bit of unjust over here, over there. But and then somehow throughout growing up, I just growing up when I was like 3-4 years old, when my cousins were all out playing in the field, I was being kept away in the kitchen by my grandmother, do the chores and housework and stuff like such. I wasn't given the opportunity to really enjoy my childhood per se, but being kept away doing chores. So there was just this unfairness that I had, that I felt that I have. I never really felt love. And then growing up in my formative years, I have been big on my life. Going up through schools, I've been bullied, I've been ostracized, I've been called a lot of different kind of names and labels, which is very, very, very painful and hurting. And I never felt accepted or belong. Deep down in my heart, I yearn to love, to be loved, and to be accepted, to belong. But somehow I did not receive that. But at the same time, I yearn to have a voice, to speak up, to speak my truth, but also of my inability to express myself. I'm not the most eloquent, I'm not very expressive. People are telling me that, they don't understand what I talk, when I try to explain myself. So all these negative remarks just ingrained in me that, hey, what am I doing? Does my existence really matter to these people around me? Like, yeah, but somehow I just have this, this thing in me that I wanted so much to voice out and to say my truth, but somehow I just didn't have the ability to do so. So and I know that I'm not alone. That's why that motivated me, to kickstart this program named title I Am Invisible, to really bring the invisible into visible. And this is only one incident, one motivation that stems from my own personal story. And then like 6 years ago, I was just like, because of this, knowing that, a lot of people only kind of like glorify and idolize those people who are very powerful. I feel that a lot of people trailing in shadows are just as capable and are very passionate about storytelling and impact. So one day, I just, walk the street, pick up my camera, walk the street and talk to people. And then that ranged from cupboard lady, people with invisible illnesses, people, even have doctor who suffer a stroke at 24. So I walk the street and understand about their motivation, why do they do what they do, what actually got them to rise up from, their adversities. So I uncover their stories and I help them, to uncover a word to affirm their worth and well-being. Because everyone has a story untold, and our past don't define our future. I believe that everyone has a potential to create a possibility that they want for themselves. So I help them to uncover their stories, through all this intimate sharing, and then I help them to support them to uncover a word that they could use based on their own personal stories to uncover a word to affirm themselves, to create a possibility for their future. So I have an intimate exchange over 30 people on the ground and curated 12 to be exhibited and invited 6 for live sharing, a very small mini exhibition. It was a very, very humbling experience. They share their personal stories, they share their pains, their struggles, and how they raise up to adversity and to becoming who they are. And what really got me, the key takeaway from this whole mini exhibitions and conversation was that all of them felt that they're just not good enough. There is this challenge, this problem with self-worth. Because of where they are, they do not really achieve what they have expected themselves to do, or external expectation from their parents or from their peers. So it really got me thinking, so what is worth? What is self-worth? What is the measurement of our own worth? Is it defined by the job title, the house or the car that we drive? What does self-worth really means to you? Yeah, so it also derived from my own personal motivation. Self-worth is something that's very personal to me, and I know they're not alone. From the conversation that I have with 30 of them, all of them felt that this is not good enough. I also feel the same way. So that got me going that, I need to do something about it. That's why I kickstarted this initiative, to really bring the invisible into visible, to help people, to design workshops to support people to affirm themselves based on their own personal stories, to create a future that they want. So that is, what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story so openly and with so much honesty and vulnerability. You're modeling vulnerability, and I hope the viewers of our show can also heal together with us as we journey through this. I'm reminded of Deborah Free's double loop transformation. So on one hand there is the old system that's on the decline, the modern system based on capitalism. But something else that came to my mind from your story is the force of patriarchy, and how powerful patriarchy is, and how it devalues women, and girls. And then on the other end, as this is hospicing and this is composting, there is the emergence of a new system, and that's based on the system that you are trying to build and we are trying to make way for. And in that system, there are different roles that we play. You are playing the role of illuminator. You illuminate these people and these voices. So you're playing a very important role in systems transformation from Deborah Free's model. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you for affirmation, but I'll say it's really not an easy, it's not an easy, path to embark on. I have a lot of challenges, along the way. It's not easy to share my personal stories or vulnerabilities. It takes a lot of guts and courage to do so. And, even if I were to share, people would think that I'm just a loser. I mean, people have, I can't stop people from thinking what they might think, but I do receive, feedback like such. So, yeah, it's not easy road at all. I just want to share that, why I'm so passionate about this whole self-discovery, self-awareness and affirmation aspects of work that I'm doing, because I find that through my own personal stories, it has helped me. If I may just share another personal stories, 16 years ago, my life collapsed. I was in business, I lost a business, I was in debt. Broken bank account, and then I also lost a relationship at the same time. And actually what got me broken and paralyzed was the passing of my father, all at the same time. And the knowing that, not that my father told me, but I learned it from my younger brother, that my father was still worrying about me as his deathbed. That got me paralyzed, because to me, I feel that, wow, what have I done? I know she was against the idea of me going into business with this friend, but somehow she still supported me. And little did I know that I haven't really my hope is to make him proud, but I have the regret that he was still worried about me as deathbed. This is something that I'm still holding on to, the regret. I'm still looking forward to the day where I could, make him proud, that I can really stand up for myself. And the fact that I'm still a work in progress, that I'm still struggling, that gave me a lot of anxiety. And it also get me thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? Can I just go and find a simple job and just, draw a salary? Why do I do what I want to do? But at the back of my mind, I just felt that this is something that I need to do. It's based on my own personal motivation and my own personal stories, because in the last 16 years, through a lot of healing work and conversations with a lot of people, I uncover my strength to get me going. There's so many times that I want to give up. The word of affirmation through my own personal stories that I can uncover for myself, as what Santosh has shared in the beginning, is I am possible. There's so many times that I want to give up, but wherever I want to give up, right, the word possible just pop up in me to remind me that I have the possibility to create a future that I want, that I still have the possibility to someday somehow make my father proud. So that kept me going, and that has been ingrained in me, in every single cell of my body, to weather any storms that comes along the way. So I know that it has supported me, and I know that I'm not alone, and I hope that I'll be able to use my personal stories to really pay it forward, to support those people who are in the same shoes as me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing such a personal story. It's very moving.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can completely resonate with that. Regret, about not being able to, give your father that peace of mind towards the end. But you managed to turn it into a wonderful gift that you are now, sharing with others.
I hope it's a wonderful gift. I'm just really trying to do what I can. Yeah.
I mean, given that so many of the people that you're working with and where you're trying to, get them to talk about their own stories, right? And you're saying like a lot of them don't have a lot of self-worth. How do you actually get them to the point where they are willing to tell their story in the first place? Is that a challenge?
To me, on the contrary, it's actually not a challenge for me though. In fact, it just comes naturally. allow me to share that in the pandemic last year, I was invited to hold a mindfulness session for the Singapore first migrant mental health fest for the migrant community. So, predominantly, the target audience are the domestic helpers. And, I conducted a very short, brief mindfulness, session for them. And I was totally humbled by it that, throughout the whole session, there was a lot of cathartic release. They were just cheering at the end of the session and just like, thanking me, like, for holding the space for them. And I was like, oh wow, never did I expected that, or because I just went in with open mind just to conduct a simple mindfulness breathing exercise for them. But to them it is a release. And then I sat down with a few of them. I just realized that in the pandemic, a lot of attention has been given to the migrant brothers, but somehow the domestic sisters fall through the cracks. They share with me that they are just like, they have no one to turn to. They just face the four walls and talking to themselves. So that session that we came together to created that safe space for them to hold space for each other, for one another, to let go of any negative emotion that they had. So that to me was a very, very humbling experience. So that from that session, right, it spin off from a series of online workshop that I do for the I do two series. The first series is for the domestic helpers, online session to support their well-being. So in the session, right, I'm so heartened that we're able to co-create together with the sisters, like 20-30 of them in a session, coming together to really share their vulnerabilities, to let go of emotions. A few of them actually share the darkest, deepest secret that they share with me that they have not told anyone, including their close friends, which I'm so heartened that we are able to come together for that, to support one another. It was in a Zoom chat, when one of them is sharing, the rest, were just typing and supporting one another. I hear you, I hug you, I love you. It's like, wow, the energy was just so amazing that they are supporting one another in solidarity. And that is not something that you could see in a lot of spaces out there, which I'm totally humbled, by it. And that was so that series was very well received. And then then I kickstart another series, that will include the migrant brothers. So again, I'm really very heartened to be able to hold space for them. And that to me, it just come off quite naturally for me that I just ask them to really express their emotions. How are they really feeling? And I noticed that a lot of people do not really know and understand any word to describe their emotions beyond angry, sad, and happy. They do not really have the vocabulary to describe that. And that to me, we support one another to really help to unpack and uncover what are you really feeling, based on that emotions. And they can get better clarity with that group of like-minded people coming together to support one another, solidarity. That's why that safe space, I would say, it's not created by me at all. It's like-minded coming together to co-create a space together, and that's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, I just want to observe that I don't think it's just like an issue of, let's say, language, that they didn't have any other words besides mad, sad, or angry. A lot of people actually don't have a lot of emotional literacy. And I think studies have shown that the more words that to describe your emotions, the more mentally healthy you are. So it's great that you were able to support people in becoming much more aware of their emotions.
It was a really very heartening experience, I would say. Yeah.
No, I think your personal story is so precious. The struggles you've been through in your life, and that made it a lot more relatable for our migrant brothers or migrant sisters to connect with you, because they can relate to your story and you can relate to their story. So not anyone can have that kind of impact. You know, when you arrive in a space to help people unpack the emotions, you know, I trust you because you've been through something similar, and I can open up to you. So it's I can see the connection between your life story and then your calling now.
It's also having the courage, you know, to create that safe space, right? Also having the courage to really share your vulnerabilities, and that's where, you know, the trust, you know, is built, and then also letting the audience know that, you know, they are actually not alone, that there are people out there who are facing the same struggle as well, and that in itself actually allow them to kind of like, you know, remove their guard, you know, to really share a piece of themselves that they are also in this together.
Speaking of removing your guard, in August 2022, you held an Do You See Me storytelling exhibition, and there was a foreign domestic worker who shared her struggles with her employer. Amongst many other beautiful stories in August. Could you share and describe a bit more about what happened in that exhibition?
Thanks for that questions. So allow me just to give a bit of background about the birth of this, you know, Do You See Me showcase. Is linked to that online workshop, well-being workshop that I supported them, the brothers and the sisters.
30 or
no, more than that. So I did about 13 sessions for them. And then, you know, it's called Imperfect Embrace. It's really embracing the imperfections that everyone has to support one another in solidarity. So throughout that 13 session, right, I hear a lot of stories, very compelling stories that, you know, that like I shared just now, that, you know, stories that they have not shared with anyone, and also stories about their strength, you know, very, very strong, you know, there's so much strength, you know, in them that you'll just be wowed by them. And then at the same I felt that, you know, these stories needs to go out to the general public, to share to Singapore at large of who and what they are made of. Because there was 3 reports that was done by UN Women as well as International Labour Organization, and 2 from NVPC, National Volunteer Philanthropy Centre, and A Good Space. These 3 reports stated that Singapore has a very negative sentiments towards the migrant community, and they are lowly skilled, they have no talents, they are low education and stuff like such, which I thought is totally untrue. From the conversation that I have in the 13th session with them, they are so talented. You know, they are models in the midst, you know, there are poets, there are performance, dancer, composer, they have produced albums and what's not. They get to perform in big stages like Esplanade, and also be part of this, like, you know, Singapore Writers Fest that's happening right now. Who in Singapore able to perform in such big stage? For me, definitely I can't. You know, and they even speak better English than I am, you know. So I just really want to really show the world what they make of, to really, you know, burst the myth, to remove the stigma that, you know, the society, Singapore has put upon them. So that gave the birth of the Do You See Me showcase. As the name suggests, Do You See Me is to build empathy, you know, to look at yourself, you know, in them. What are the similarities? So, you know, to build empathy, I want to use the power of personal stories to build resonance, and with resonance, you're able to have the empathy, and with empathy, connections and, you know, relationship can be built. So that is my whole objective of this showcase, like to really see me as me and you. Do you see me in me and you? You know, to build that connection, that if we care to sit down and listen, we realize that there's so much of similarities that we have. Then why is there this social divide? Why is the report stated, you know, that they are lowly educated? Because it wasn't any understanding. So, you know, the showcase, you know, is intentionally held in Heartland, is to bring, you know, the Singapore and the migrant community coming together to integrate, to create opportunities to understand more about one another. Therefore, empathy can be built, relationship can be built. So, before I answer your question, right, I also want to share that at the launch itself on 7th of August, this was in conjunction with National Day to really bring about integration. The whole idea that I shared just now, was to really change sentiments. But on the day of the launch itself, it all didn't matter anymore, because I had so many of the migrant community coming to me to thank me that thank you for creating this showcase. They said that this is life-changing for them. They felt that they finally felt heard, belong, and seen in a foreign city. They can never forget this experience. That to me was like, wow, I never actually thought that at all, because my whole idea, my original intention is just to change sentiment. But never mind whether it's changed or not, but the intangible impact has created for them is really priceless. How you make them feel is immeasurable, I would say. And what really got me going, based on your question, was that this sister, we did the filming in May. This sister shared the challenge that she had with her current employer. I was actually very concerned, like, are you sure you want to share the challenges? Because that might invite more trouble, from your current employer, especially you are still under her wings, She said she was very adamant. She said that I want to be the voice for my fellow sisters. I want to convey to all the employers to take care of their helper and to treat them with respect and dignity like fellow human beings, and to take care of mental health. And then, little did I know that 2 months into the showcase in October, I gather, a celebratory get-together. We gather them coming together for a celebration. And she shared with me that her employer apologized to her. I was like, wow. I was totally blown away. I was like, wow. I never imagined that, that this little, this little platform, which I hope to give voice, to allow people to share things that's not been said, or just to share their personal stories to connect, would have such power to create such immeasurable impact on a person. It's life-changing for her, because she shared that the relationship that she has with her current employer right now is getting better by the day. I was like, it's just like, in a conversation, right, it's especially when you are faced with someone with authority, there are some words that cannot be said verbally on a face-to-face. But if you give them a platform to say out loud, to really convey the innermost thoughts, the power of words to be conveyed can be very powerful to really impact lives. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a beautiful story. Do you know like how the employer came to hear the story?
Yes. So so I was invited to do a rerun of that showcase. It's just a wrap up on Sunday only, last Sunday on the 27th of November. So I invited her. The series is called Do You See Me Impact series. So I hear about the migrant communities and how it has impacted them, in the last 3 months. On Sunday, right, I also invited a few Singaporeans to really share about the personal impact they have, in the last 3 months. So this sister, Cornelly, she was one of the panel, to share about personal impact. So she shared that the showcase was on the 7th August, and on the 8th of August she got COVID, and then her symptoms she didn't recover on the 7th day or so. It continued for about 10, 11, 12 days, and her employer was quite angry. She said she's going to minus her salary, and she was really quite was not really very happy with the treatment that she has, because in the story, right, she shared that eating was just a 10-minute affair in standing position. She just swallowed her food just to have some food to contain in her stomach. That is the treatment that she received. So she was really tolerating and tolerating the treatment over there. But she shared in the videos that her word of affirmation is I am perseverance. She believed that she's still waiting for the day where, for the time where her employer will be able to see her strength and her worth because she has this very positive mindset in her. And I'm just so heartened that her perseverance prevailed to see the light. So she shared that, on that week, right, when she has COVID, her employer said that she want to minus her salary. And then she said, okay, since, I will not accept that, I want to go. Just transfer me to another house, another home. And then they sat down and have a chat. Yeah, then she shared the videos, and then they have a chat. And the employer apologized to her.
Amazing. Yeah.
Very risky move.
Yeah, such courage.
Exactly. And little do you know that she's a very tiny, pin-sized lady. I'm like a giant standing beside her. She's just this high, But her courage is bigger than a lion. It's just amazing because she has this motivation and strength in her to really speak up for her fellow sisters. That she knows that she's not alone. Yeah, so it's really, commendable.
I feel like she must be famous by now among the community. I mean,
she's
she would be like a hero.
She's one of the big sisters, a mentor, in the community. This really amazing. I also want to share another story, and by another courageous young lady as well. She is one of the lady that shared with me that, in the Imperfect Embrace workshop, she shared one of the deepest, darkest secret that she hasn't shared with anyone. She gone through a lot of trial and turbulences, and she shared that she tribute where she has come so far, she is today. She attributed, it to her mom for being so gentle, that stood by her, who understand her despite all the trial and turbulences. And then, she also paid tribute to her employer, who supported her all this while. Because she says she's very lucky to have a good employer who hold her hands to support her to where she is right now. She get performed in Esplanade. Her employer was there to support her, and that to her she was very touched and moved because she shared that her employer is actually exemplifying as a role model to fellow employer to really support, the helpers. Like they are not deemed as a helper based on the title. They can really be who they want to be. And she's very grateful for that. And then, and she shared one of, she's a big sister, very highly respected, sisters in the community, very talented as well. And then, she shared that, in the video, she shared that, although I'm just a domestic helper, my title is just a maid, but I do not see myself as that. She saw herself as a woman who came out to face the world, to becoming who she wants to be. And that to me really exemplified the word of affirmation that she has for herself. She is courageous. I am courageous, to really becoming who she wants to be. And then she said one night, because she took, they are so enterprising, their off day, they just go for classes, courses and all to upgrade themselves. And then she was in the community, she's well known in the community as a big sister. So she said one day, midnight at 12 o'clock, there was this sister that called her at midnight, and she said that she's grateful that she picked up the phone. She said this sister on the other side of the phone was really in a very deep, dark space. She's just a moment from jumping down. But she's able to calm her, say like, just come down, just talk to me, I'm here for you, just talk to me, and release it out. And from that moment, she realized the value of her voice. The voice was able to save her life. So she found her worth, the value of her voice, that she's just beyond the title of a maid. She's able, she's able to save her life, and everyone is beyond the title. This is why I'm something that I'm really very passionate about, that everyone is beyond the title, that the society perceives us to be. We are beyond that. We can be who we want to be. Yeah, so this is just some of the stories that I want to share. Yeah.
This reminds me of a story I heard about a Zen monk who was trying to give his disciples a lesson, and he would ask them, what is the true profession of a real human being, and then they would give different answers and whatever, and like he wasn't satisfied with them, and then he just said, ask me, and then so then they would ask him, what is the true profession of a real human being? And then he just said, how can I help you? Like that was that's what a human being, that's our true purpose. It's to help each other, right? I mean, it's not to be whatever, a title or whatever. So yeah, this really reminds me of that story, right? I mean, what this person realized is like, wow, our power to help each other, that's our true worth, actually.
To think about it, right, from the day that we were born, when we have our first cry, we were all naked and bare. If we were to strip ourselves away from all these titles and status, based on our worldly achievement, we are actually all the same. Bare and naked from the very first day when we have the loud cry. Yeah.
And we go back to bare and naked when we die.
Yeah, exactly.
We cannot carry our titles to the grave.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, a few things, like I'm in awe at what you've covered. It started with this. I have 3 S's. The first S was segregation in society, how the locals are segregated from the migrant workers, and what you tried to do was to help ease the segregation, because segregation is a very important social function that leads to stigma. The second S, stigma. Yeah, and I personally have grown up hearing stories of, hey, you don't be like that sweeper. Yeah, make sure you study hard and you become a lawyer, doctor or engineer, and you don't be like that. Yeah, so that's the stigma, right? Stigma comes because of segregation, not enough interaction. So you're addressing stigma by desegregating, by bringing the migrant workers into the local community and getting the locals to see they're no different from me. Yeah, there is, they're actually mirrors of me. They are like the same as me. So that's the powerful function you have done in addressing social stratification or classism. Yeah. Now the third S that came to me was my own personal story of servitude, bonded labor. That foreign domestic worker that you talked about, I was a bonded labor for 5 years when I was in the government. So I had to serve my bond, right? And if I left, I had to pay liquidated damages, which I couldn't afford. And the power dynamics entering the organization as a bonded labor is very stark. People know who the bonded laborers are, the bonded scholars. Yeah, and they are targeted because they know you can't leave, right? Whereas if you are an employee, you can leave anytime if you want. And so they pile on you work, and you can't say no, because they also know that because you are a scholar, you cannot say no, you want to perform. So there's just all of this things that are up against scholars in the civil service when they return back, and a lot of prohibitive forces that prevent them from speaking the truth. It's only in private circles where we hear of the suffering, the immense suffering of bonded scholars in the civil service. And that story of that the foreign domestic worker talking about her employer, I never ever had the guts to speak out against my employer, my boss, who bullied me, who gaslighted me, and the whole system. Like I had senior managers in the civil service say, let Santosh go and rot in strategic planning department. Let him rot there, So it's crazy. Like there's a lot of invisible suffering even in the civil service. I can identify that story of being a bonded labor. So thank you for sharing that. And I feel like when you share that, it gave me the permission to speak about it, to allow more scholars who are suffering quietly, unable to speak their truth, to come out in the open and to join hands.
I was just gonna make a remark that I don't think I've ever heard you sort of talk about that in public. So there's something about hearing other people's stories that gave you that courage.
Absolutely. It's not until what you shared that gave me immense courage to just share what I experienced. And that pain within me is so visceral, it's still within me. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Just to add on, thanks for your courage to share your stories as well. That is why, I'm so passionate about personal storytelling, because personal stories connect and build resonance. If a person has the courage to share, the other people hearing it may also have the same, commonalities, and that to themselves, it can be a form of healing, because, when a person resonates with the same story, say, hey, this is happening to me too. And that also, what was shared, can give them an insight of what is the best way to go about dealing with it. So it creates this I am not alone thing, just to let them know that I'm not suffering alone in this situation. There are people out there, who are going through the same stuff as well, that, that I have the power, to really create the future that I want to change.
I mean, you can imagine for this lady, the risk is repatriation. The risks are tremendous. Like, she's got a lot more to lose than maybe me or a lot of other people. Yeah, and she, like, despite what she stood to lose, she risked it all to tell the truth. Yeah. And she gained it all.
Yes.
It's
amazing. It's so admirable.
Yeah, she can lose everything, her income, her residence here. She has to go back. No future employer will want to hire her because she spoke out in public. Who would want to take a risk on hiring her once she's told on her ex-employer? Would anyone want to? So those are all the costs, and the risk that she had to overcome. Yeah,
and
it's not easy.
I really admire this, pink-sized lady, so courageous, and that only just doesn't really, happening in the domestic, employment, sector only. It applies to everyone at workplace as well. A lot of people are suffering in silence because they do not dare to challenge authority, and that's why, like your case, they suffer in silence. And I guess, there could be some way, to go by creating the platform, just to really let out things that's not being shared, or things that people do not really have the guts to share. I think that in itself is a form of healing, is a form of release, and also provide, insights and also hope for people who are suffering, to get out of the situation.
So, yeah, you said that, like, just recently you had an impact series last Sunday. There was a display of the impact, and you said the way it was designed was very innovative. Can you share with us what was so innovative about the design of the impact series? So the impact series is after the stories were told. We invite those who told their stories to come back and share how it impacted them months later. Yeah, can you share more about what was so pivotal in the design process and in the power dynamics?
Sure. Thank you for that. So all this while, right, especially the last 2 years in the pandemic, a lot of Singaporeans, a lot of locals are, like, supporting, the migrant community. They are, so the migrant communities are kind of like being seen as the recipients, as the beneficiaries, and it's like the Singaporeans are the one giving them. They are one, they are one gaining all this, care pack or what's not, And also, I want to burst the stigma of that they have no talents, they're lowly educated and stuff as such, which is totally untrue. So what I wanted to do for this impact series, because I saw so much of talents in them, so what I did was to kind of switch the model, because it's always seems that the local Singaporeans are one giving them, they are the recipients. I want to change the shift in terms of this model by flipping it around. So I get them, the migrant community, to be the moderator, and then they are the one who designed the whole series. So I switched roles. So in August, I got a Singaporean, to be the host, to be the moderator of the panel sharing. So this time round, I get the migrant, the lady that I share, who's very courageous, who understand the value of her voice. She's just so talented, so amazing. So I asked her actually not that I asked her, she actually asked me whether she can be the moderator, which I thought was, wow, it's just so amazing, you know. Because it shows that they're so enterprising, you know, they really want to stand out to really become who they want to be. And they can, and they are just so incredible. So she actually asked me, you know, whether she can be the moderator. I said, yeah, of course. I mean, that is in the you know, the perfect platform for you to stand out, to show to the world who and what you can be. So she is a moderator, and then, you know, the guy who moderated, the Singaporean that moderated in the panel sharing in August, is a panelist. So we kind of flip the world around. So we empower them, create a platform to empower them to show to the rest of Singapore who and what they can be. And then even for the migrant human book sharing, you know, I have another migrant who actually also texts me and say, hey, can I support you, you know, to take care of the human books, like, you know, to gather all the stories and do all the marketing and stuff. I'm like, wow, I was totally moved and touched, because, you know, this showcase was very last minute. You know, it was just like 3-4 days for me to put everything up, you know, before it was confirmed. So I'm so grateful that, you know, that they are all the way, you know, there to support, to get this going. I'm just have so much gratitude, you know, towards them. So what you mentioned about this whole process about designing it is really about really shifting the whole model around to showcase to them that, you know, that they can be who they want to be, despite the titles, you know, that the Singapore community have perceived them to be.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I mean, that's real empowerment, you know, like, yeah, a lot of people say they want to empower the underprivileged or all that, but then when you actually look at how they're doing things, they're still making the decisions and still designing the programs, and yeah, you've really actually taken the work where it needs to be. So I'm curious, like, you know, now that you've actually reached this level, what's next? How are you gonna take it further, you know?
Yeah, I would love to do another series for next year. Somehow I want to tweak a little bit, you know. So this year was like, do you see me as in, like, do you see me as me and you, as in feeling validated, like physically, do you see me, and also unleashing of the innate potential that everyone has. Next year, what I would really love to do, but it's still in the pipeline, what I have in mind is the title, Do You Feel Me? Because I feel that, you know, with this mental health, you know, pandemic on the rise, and, you know, in the last few years while I was conducting all these well-being workshops and stuff, I observed that a lot of people, like I shared just now, do not really have any words to describe their emotions. They don't have any words to describe beyond happy, sad, and angry. And, you know, there are a lot of people, a lot of good programs out there, you know, doing intervention for mental health, which are all good. At the same time, I feel that, you know, what we could do more is to, you know, support, especially those people who are really, you know, at the edge of spiraling down, to help them uncover their well-being, uncover their worth, to know their meaning, to know their purpose, to give them hope, you know, that they could create a new possibilities of the future that they want. Like myself, my own personal stories, my affirmation is I am possible. It gives me the hope that I still have the possibility to create a future that I want. And I'm really looking forward, you know, to facilitate such, you know, self-worth and well-being workshop to support everyone, you know, to reaffirm themselves, you know, to empower themselves, you know, to create the hope that they could linger on, that this hope that they themselves too can create a possibility for their future, to affirm themselves, to create a future that they want. And then at the same time, you know, to get in touch with their own emotions. Because based on what I share, a lot of people do not really know about emotions. I want to introduce emotional literacy to them, like, you know, to get more aware of their own emotions, to express how are you feeling today? What does emotion means to them? I think with this awareness of their own emotions could be a breakthrough to support this mental health, you know, from being spiraling down, because once they get in touch with their own emotions, they will have better mechanism to support their well-being moving forward. So that's why, for next year, what I have in mind is to create a series called Do You Feel Me? As in, do you really, understand my emotions, and do you really feel me? And with that understanding of each other, actually create empathy. And with empathy, we can create a more compassionate society. Yeah. So that is what I have in mind. It sounds really very grand. It's an idea, it's still work in progress. I'm still, digesting and still processing how best to go about doing it. So if anybody who would like to have a chat or to work together, feel free to reach out to me. If I may ask, you've been asking me a lot of questions. If I may
yes,
just like,
please.
switch around.
Yeah.
What's the definition of worth, self-worth? What does it mean to you? Is it important in today's time and space?
Yeah, it is very important. I think for me, self-worth is basically, having a sense of value that comes from within you and not from any external authority. And it's really just tied into what you care about, what matters to you. So to have a sense of self-worth, you really need to be connected to, what's important to you. I don't know, that's what came to me right now. I'm sure there's a lot more that could be said about it.
I think the idea of intrinsic and inherent self-worth, so it need not be dependent on external objects, situations, or people. I think that's what I would call self-worth. I think I'd like to now use less concepts and ideologies to describe it, more somatics. So I contrast self-worth with a feeling I feel within me, which is constriction. When I feel low and I feel not good enough, I feel very down. There's a constriction in my consciousness and in my body. I feel it somewhere here and here. I prefer to describe that. Now the opposite of that is what I would call self-worth, right? When I feel expansion, when I feel free inside, there's this ease with life. And so that's how I would like to share more about when it comes to self-worth. It's an embodied sense of being, where you are free and you are at ease, and you're in your element, true self-acceptance of yourself, being good in your skin, things that I never felt when I was growing up, because I felt I was not good enough, I was a minority, I was worthless. So I think it's good to see the opposite and to see what the embodied state looks like.
I like that. It's not contraction, but it's a sense of expansion.
Very lovely description. Thank you for that. My next question would be, do you think that it is important to have this strong self-worth upon yourself, within yourself, in today's time and space? And why is society emphasizing on the practicality of putting food on the table? Like, self-worth is only for those people who are lost, those people who are weak. How do you think that? Is it important to you, like in today's time and space, personally?
I would say so. Especially, I think for me, like, I've always considered myself like a humanist with like humanist values, which means that like to put it in the context of, let's say, what's happening now with technology, right? I mean, more and more AI is gonna, make decisions and all that. Like, and we've already seen it in, let's say, with dating apps, right? Like, they'll, like, an algorithm will tell you who you should be dating, maybe, even who you should be marrying. And so I see more and more, like, I mean, before, a long time ago, it would be religion that would be telling us what to do. And I think we went through a period where I think we actually developed the ability to answer a lot of life's important questions on our own.
Yeah.
you know, through philosophy, literature, science. But I feel that now we're starting to get away from that, where we don't trust ourselves anymore. We want the answers from algorithms and from authority. And so, yeah, I think it is important for us to begin trusting ourselves, to be able to at least, I mean, not always have the answers, but to at least be asking the right questions with each other. So,
yeah. Wow. It's powerful. Yeah. I feel self-worth is important because it's another form of nourishment that I didn't know existed. So initially when I was growing up, I thought the only form of nourishment I needed was body, which is food. So, you know, my parents, they ensured that I was fed well. And then there is a security, right? Yeah, so to make sure that I'm safe physically. So when they look at the human being, it's really the physical body that they try to nourish and nurture, right, and keep safe. Little did I know as I grew up that there are other dimensions to the self. There is the mental, there is the emotional, you know, and then there's the spiritual. Yeah, so there's the body, the mind, and the spirit, right? And yeah, maybe the emotional layer. Yeah, so I began to realize that actually it's not the food that I need, the body nourishment, but like some other nourishment, food for the soul and the spirit, you know, by meditating. We all meditate, you know. Yeah, why do we meditate? Yeah, if we meditate, then we don't even need to eat food. We can forego breakfast. You know, there's some other forms of dimensions of nourishment that I'm uncovering. Yeah, so you're doing emotional literacy next year? Yeah, so that's nourishment for the emotional layer. Yeah, and then mental, yeah. So I feel like there's all these other dimensions that I'm discovering, and the more I do the self-worth work, I feel, wow, there's an expansion that's happening that is far more enjoyable than the physical nourishment, the expansion I derive from physical nourishment. And I guess this is also related to why some people have bulimia. You know, they eat a lot, yeah, thinking that the food will, yeah, but actually if you address the root cause, it could be a, you know, if you nourish the spirit and the emotions first, then they need to eat less, then they're healthier, yeah. So I think a more integrated view of the self, mind, body, spirit,
right.
helps me to realize the value of self-worth.
I do want to, something that just came up for me though, I do want to add that while I believe in the importance of self-worth, it is also in the context of, like, these days I'm actually seeing that ourselves are much more entangled with each other. You know, you can't really identify myself as separate from everything else. I mean, myself really depends in a very deep way on everything. You know, the air I breathe is, you know, from the plants. You know, the food I eat is from the soil. I'm so interdependent with everyone else. So I think we talk a lot about false binaries, and I think this is another false binary that, you know, we're stuck in this trap of either thinking, oh, like myself compared to something else is inferior, or oh, now myself is like, you know, it's superior or it's good. And yeah, it's a lot more complex. So I think that for me, the richest sense of self-worth is that I have trust that myself belongs. There's a sense of belonging and acceptance in my community, and that if I have needs, that it will be taken care of by the community that I belong to. And likewise, if my community needs me, that I have gifts that I can offer and that are valued by the community.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
Powerful.
Yes. Both of your, explanation are just so lovely and powerful. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I was reminded of Chit Nan Han. He talks about the interbeing.
Yep.
Yeah, or the philosophy of Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am because we are. This interbeing. Yeah, it's so fascinating that you brought this out. Yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's so powerful. Yeah, and I think even as a philanthropist, you abide by this philosophy or this principle that your liberation, my liberation, is intertwined with yours. You know, it's a very powerful shift in the way even philanthropy is viewed. The same way the migrant workers, became the creators of the platform, the givers rather than the receivers. Yeah, that's also another shift that you're enacting from this perspective of interbeing.
Yeah, I was inspired by, there's a quote, I don't know how it goes exactly, but it's from a group of Australian Aboriginal activists. And they have this powerful statement. They just said, if you have come here to help us, you are wasting your time. But if you have come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then we can work together.
Wow.
You know, and so when I approach, let's say, yeah, working with people, I try and remind myself, no, I'm not here to help this person. I'm here because my own liberation depends on their liberation. That's why we are working together. And I think your projects really epitomize that. I think even before you came across this quote, you already believe it. So
yeah, that's just so powerful. It exemplifies the coexistence. Like we are just on par with one another. There's no superiority between one from the other. That is just so wonderful. Yeah.
So we had an unplatform, you change the nature of a platform, right? Then you un the platform. Then you also have unschooling, the unschooling. You have unconferences. Yeah, so you have unphilanthropy. We can also extend the idea, right? Unparliament, uncivil service. So you imagine a parliament where it's no longer the parliamentarian coming. We say, okay, all of you take a break, go back. Let all these people who your beneficiaries become your parliamentarians for a week, and that's just experiment, right? So you bring in your migrant workers, your foreign domestic workers, you bring in all segments of society and let them just make decisions and see how the policy making, the legislation process, everything works out. I mean, it's a nice way of looking at it and changing the power dynamic, right?
That would be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and the same thing can be applied to the civil service, uncivil service. Civil servants design and implement policies for the citizens, right? There is a giver-receiver relationship in that. Civil servant giving the policy, receiver is the citizen receiving the policy, right? Now you just uncivil service, the citizens go back, civil servants all take a break. Yeah, I bring in all my citizens. Yeah, so these are all like thought experiments or real experiments we can run.
That's why my name is Unsu.
That's why your name is Unsu.
That's my purpose.
There you go.
So thank you so much for all of this. We're looking forward to like next year. But there's also more work that you foresee yourself doing, especially in schools and in corporates. Yeah, could you share more about
thanks for
all
that
of this
question.
work? Yeah.
So what I intend to do moving forward is to really support people to do some experiential workshops to really get in touch with their emotions. And to really even if they like it or not, whether they think it's airy-fairy or not, or whether is it practical or not, emotion is such a personal thing, and I feel that everyone is run by emotions. We need to get in touch with emotions to function wholly as a human being. And I hope that I would foresee that get in touch with emotions, self-worth and stuff, and really unleashing your inner power is something, it is a basic foundation that everyone needs to kickstart with to really actualize our greatest potential. So I hope to really bring my workshops, my program, to the workplace, to the schools, to the students and to the communities, because I would like to stress that uncovering your own self-worth is not only for those who are lost, not only for those who are weak. I have, I think it applies to everyone. Everyone is still working on this earth. Every day is still a journey. Every day is still a new discovery, a new learning, and everyone could make use of that new discovery to uncover our fullest potential. And it's not only for those who are lost. So I just want to share that even like just beginning of the year, I have a trainee who was attached to me. he is a scholar like yourself, and because of the personal expectation and external expectation from the peers, from the family, he spiraled down. And it's not that only those people who are lost, those people who are less academic inclined need courses and workshops as such. It applies to everyone. Everyone needs it, despite your social status or how the title that you have. So I hope to be able to remove this stigma and burst this mindset that people have, like self-worth is only for the self-worth is only for the weak. Yeah.
In fact, you might even argue that those people who are successful need it even more, because I think to some extent their success has been so bound up in the system and whoever they're working for, that it can be quite hard for them to detach from that unless they have their own sense of self-worth.
Totally. Allow me to add on that, while I was interviewing all this, migrant community, right? I have a migrant brother who shared that, beyond being a project engineer, he is also a model, a poet, winning poet, and also photographer. So that got me thinking. A lot of professionals with titles get lost once they get retrenched, especially in the last 2 years, when a lot of them got retrenched and they spiraled down because they do not know who they are already, because they are so attached to the title that they have. And once it's been removed, they are lost. They do not know who they are. So, I want to ask everyone this, important question, that do you really know who you are beyond the title and job that you hold? Who is this person behind your name? And then that will actually get people thinking about their own worth and well-being, and what are they really living for, as far as their journey on life on this earth, continues. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So bureaucracies and hierarchies are a perfect breeding ground for narcissism. So a lot of narcissists, they gravitate to such environments because they need it. Like, it's a drug for them. The position, the power, the title, yeah, and the entire identity is built around it. Yeah, and so I like what we discussed, right? This is not just for the invisible, it's also for those who are visible. In fact, maybe they need it more. So you might do an I am invisible,
Probably.
flip the model again. Yeah, flipping it all over. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, because I did something that's this worth thing. Self-esteem is really something that's very personal to me, and I know they're not alone. Although a lot of people say that this is really for the weak and for the lost, and for those people who are just don't feel good enough. But even for those people who are really high up with those big titles and status, I do come across a few of them that I have some good, intimate, long conversation with. They are actually very insecure. They do not really know their own worth. They are just up there on the research that, okay, I'm way up there, I have my title, so I feel that I'm good enough. But deep down inside, they are actually very empty. Yeah.
Wow. Very profound. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming to. I feel very inspired. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm totally inspired by the both of you, by the work that you're doing. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Ningpei, for being a guest, and thank you so much for this rich discussion. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you for the next episode of Breaking the Spell. Yeah, where we tackle other spells in society. Today we tackled the spell of worth and dignity, stigma and labels, the effects that stigma and labels have on us. So keep a lookout for future episodes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ningpei.